Beneath 6 kilometers of crushing Atlantic darkness lies a grave of iron and dreams. A world suspended between life and oblivion, where silence weighs heavier than steel. This is where the Titanic sleeps. Her colossal frame, entombed beneath centuries of salt and time, the ocean has claimed her, yet it has not erased her. Every rivet, every corridor, every rusted hinge still whispers of the night, when light and laughter vanished into black water. As the camera descends through the gloom, the ship slowly appears, her silhouette emerging like the bones of a sleeping giant. For a moment, it feels as though time has stopped breathing. The middle deck unfolds before us, still, solemn, frozen in a moment that refuses to die. Once, this place was filled with the sound of footsteps, conversation, and the pulse of engines driving forward into destiny. Now only the sea moves here. Soft currents brushing against decayed walls like the slow hands of memory. The glow of the ROV's light touches fragments of a lost world. A chair half buried in silt, a lamp corroded into shape, the faint outline of a door leading into darkness. Each object seems to tell the same story, not of tragedy alone, but of persistence, of how memory survives even when life does not. The Titanic is not merely a wreck. It is a monument to human ambition and fragility, a cathedral built by hands that believed they had conquered nature, now humbled beneath its eternal weight. As the camera drifts deeper, the water becomes thicker, filled with drifting dust like frozen breath. You can almost hear the faint echo of music that once filled these halls, laughter that once rose through the decks, the heartbeat of thousands who never imagined this would be their final voyage. Down here, light fades faster than time. And yet, within this darkness, something still lives, not in movement or sound, but in presence. The Titanic endures, not as a ruin, but as a reminder that even in silence, history speaks. And as we journey deeper into her shadowed corridors, what we uncover is not just a ship, but a memory that the ocean could never drown. The third-class dining hall appears through the drifting haze, a vast room, once alive with chatter and the clinking of plates. Now trapped in stillness beneath the crushing weight of the sea, tables stand where they once were, their edges softened by rust, chairs collapsed into the floor, and layers of silt cover everything like a shroud of time. The light from the ROV sweeps slowly across the space, revealing delicate traces of what once was. A silver spoon half buried in sand, a bottle covered in coral, the faint shadow of a clock frozen forever. Here, sound itself seems afraid to return, every surface absorbing the silence of a century. It is as if the air that once carried laughter has turned to water and memory. The ocean has transformed this hole into a gallery of ghosts, where the echoes of the past linger not in voices, but in form and texture. Each object feels sacred, untouched by chaos, perfectly still in its surrender. The beams above hang low with rust, their iron bones groaning softly as currents drift through. In this place, time does not move forward. It circles endlessly, repeating the moment of descent, the moment of stillness, the moment the world above forgot. As the camera glides closer, the room feels almost alive, as if waiting for its guests to return, as if the next ripple of water might bring back the sound of music, a hand reaching for a glass, a voice calling across the table, but no one answers. Only the sea breathes here now, quiet and eternal, keeping the memory of that final meal locked beneath 6 kilometers of darkness. Deeper inside the ship, The Turkish bath reveals itself like a forgotten temple, a place that once glowed with warmth and luxury, now surrendered to the slow artistry of decay. The mosaic tiles that once shimmered under golden light lie cracked and scattered, their patterns blurred by coral and salt. Bronze fixtures fade into green shadows, their shapes softened by years of silent corrosion. The water around them moves like breath, slow and deliberate, carrying fragments of dust that drift through the beam of light like ash in sacred air. Once, steam filled this chamber, laughter echoing through marble walls. Now there is only the deep hum of the sea, the distant moan of pressure against iron. The ocean has painted over human beauty with its own hand, replacing color with rust, warmth with cold, sound with stillness. The ROV drifts past a row of porcelain tubs, their edges fractured yet strangely graceful, as if holding on to the memory of comfort. Every surface speaks the same truth, that nothing resists time, yet nothing truly disappears. The bath, once a place of cleansing, has become a sanctuary of silence, where the past sleeps beneath layers of coral and dust. Light glimmers across the broken tiles like ghostly candle flames, flickering for a moment before vanishing into darkness. In this underwater cathedral, beauty and ruin have become one, and the Titanic itself feels less like a ship than a dream suspended in the breath of the ocean, waiting, unchanged, unforgotten. Beyond the bath lies a corridor that seems to stretch into eternity, its walls lined with doors leading nowhere, its silence deeper than thought. The light glides across fragments of wallpaper still clinging to iron, colors long faded into the memory of gold and ivory. Curtains sway gently in the still current, their motion so faint it feels like breathing. Dust floats in the beam like frozen breath, suspended between life and nothingness. A cracked mirror reflects the drifting silt and the ghostly outline of a forgotten presence. Once, footsteps echoed here, voices crossed paths, lives moved through these doors without a second thought. Now each door stands closed forever, guarding rooms that no longer belong to anyone. The airless silence presses closer, wrapping the hallway in a stillness that feels almost alive. The ROV moves carefully forward, its light trembling across the walls, revealing the remains of a sign, a rusted handle, a number etched in decay. The corridor feels endless, yet intimate, as if the ship itself remembers who once walked here. The sea hums softly through the gaps, and in that faint vibration lies the illusion of sound. As though the ship is whispering to itself, every inch of metal breathes memory. Every flake of rust feels like the skin of time peeling away. Here, under the crushing weight of 6 kilometers of ocean, the Titanic does not simply rest. She listens, she remembers. The engine room appears like the hollow heart of a giant that once lived, now cold and breathless beneath the weight of the sea. Great machines stand in rows, their iron bodies twisted and broken, covered in a fine skin of rust that glows faintly under the drifting light. Pipes stretch across the ceiling like veins, some still intact, others torn open by time. Valves and gauges remain locked in their final position, frozen at the moment life left this place. Once, this room roared with fire and steam, the air thick with heat and motion, men shouting above the thunder of the engines as the ship pushed forward through the Atlantic night. Now there is nothing but silence, an echo so heavy it feels like sound itself has drowned. The ROV's light moves carefully through the maze of steel, revealing twisted ladders, fallen beams, a single tool resting where a hand once left it. Everything remains exactly as it was when the world above still breathed, Yet everything has changed. A droplet of water slides down a corroded pipe, falling through the beam like a tear. It lands softly, raising a small cloud of dust that drifts upward like smoke from an invisible fire. For a moment, it feels as if the ship exhales, as if memory itself still leaks from its bones. In this chamber, power has turned to peace, motion to memory, and the Titanic, once a triumph of human creation, lies still, dreaming beneath the endless pressure of the sea. The camera glides into what was once the ship's galley, the place where meals were prepared for hundreds of passengers. A space once filled with heat, scent, and movement. Now it lies drowned in silence. A graveyard of utensils and memories. Pots and pans lie overturned across the floor, their surfaces coated in layers of coral and silt. Knives and plates remain scattered exactly where they fell. Frozen in the moment, chaos began. The shelves are empty, their wood softened by decay, and what once held food now holds only sand and time. The faint outlines of crates linger along the walls, their shapes barely visible beneath the film of drifting dust. The ROV's light reveals a small kettle lying on its side, a spoon resting beside it, as though someone had just stepped away. It is hauntingly ordinary, and that ordinariness makes the silence unbearable. Every object feels untouched yet alive, as if the air itself remembers the rhythm of work. The voices, the clatter, the smell of bread rising in heat. The sea has not destroyed this place. It has preserved it in stillness, turning labor into relic and motion into memory. In the corner, a rusted pan glimmers faintly as the light passes over it. And for a heartbeat, it feels as if the ship still waits for the next meal to begin, as if time has folded in on itself, and the story of that final night is repeating endlessly beneath the waves. The galley, once a space of life and sustenance, now feeds only the ocean, offering to the deep not food, but the lingering taste of what once was. Beyond the galley lies the sleeping quarters of the men who kept the ship alive, the engineers and firemen who worked deep in the heat and noise below the decks. Now, resting in a silence so complete it feels eternal. The bunks still stand, though their frames are bent and eaten away by rust. Thin blankets turn to lace by time. On the floor lie boots half buried in silt, a wrench resting beside them, a small cup still clinging to the shelf, as if waiting for a hand that will never return. The air here feels heavier, as though the ocean itself carries respect for those who never escaped its grasp. The ROV's light sweeps across the walls, catching the faint outline of a nameplate. The letters blurred, yet still visible. A whisper of identity that refuses to disappear. These men were the heart of the Titanic, their sweat and skill driving her forward through the dark Atlantic night. And now their memory sleeps within her iron bones. Every tool, every fragment of metal around them seems to breathe loyalty, a quiet devotion that has not faded even after a century of silence. The sea does not mock them, it holds them. It preserves their final duty in still water and drifting dust. In this small chamber, there is no chaos, no sound, only peace and the feeling of something sacred. The Titanic has become their tomb and their monument. And as the light moves away, the shadows seem to close protectively around them, guarding the memory of the hands that once kept her heart alive. The grand staircase rises from the darkness like the spine of a dream, winding upward into shadows where light can no longer reach. Once it was the heart of the Titanic's beauty, a place where music echoed and dresses shimmered beneath chandeliers. Now it stands wrapped in coral and dust, its railings draped with rust, its steps covered in a thin layer of drifting silt that moves gently like breath. The ROV's light glides slowly along the curve, tracing every fragile detail of its decay. The carved wood, now only memory. The golden handrails turn to iron bones. Curtains flutter faintly at the edge of sight, their motion too soft to be real, as if stirred by a ghostly draft that remembers laughter. For a moment, the staircase feels alive, each turn of its spiral holding the echo of footsteps. Each step, a fragment of time suspended in water. The ocean has not destroyed this place. It has only silenced it, turning elegance into reverence. The beam of light catches a small fragment of glass lying on a step, perhaps from a chandelier, and it glints for a heartbeat before fading again into darkness. Here, beauty and ruin exist together, inseparable, as if the ship itself still dreams of the world above. The staircase leads upward, but ends in blackness, a reminder that every path once filled with light now disappears into the deep. Yet even in that darkness, there is grace, there is memory, there is something eternal that refuses to fade, as if the ship still waits for morning that will never come. Deep within the wreck lies the engine control room, the true heart of the Titanic, now silent and motionless beneath the weight of time. The walls are lined with gauges locked forever at zero, their glass faces clouded by salt and memory. Levers that once commanded power stand stiff and corroded, frozen mid-motion, as if the ship itself stopped in the middle of a breath. The ROV's light cuts through the darkness, revealing twisted cables, wheels half buried in sediment, and panels that still carry the faint outline of human touch. Here, the ship once roared with energy, the pulse of steam and steel driving her forward across the Atlantic, a monument to human ambition. Now, there is only stillness, the kind of silence that hums louder than sound. The ocean has turned this place into a shrine, where every broken wire and fractured dial tells a story of effort, pride, and loss. As the camera moves closer, a shimmer of light dances across a piece of metal, a faint reflection that looks almost alive, as if the ship's spirit flickered once more before fading back into darkness. It is not just machinery that sleeps here. It is the dream of progress, the belief that humanity could command nature itself. Yet, even in defeat, there is dignity. The Titanic's engines, once a symbol of unstoppable power, now rest like ancient lungs, quiet but not forgotten, surrounded by the eternal breath of the sea. In this place, power has turned to memory, and memory has become sacred. Time has buried the Titanic beneath 6 kilometers of ocean, yet even here, in the kingdom of silence, she endures. Untouched by forgetfulness, the ship no longer moves, yet she feels alive, her corridors breathing softly with the slow rhythm of the sea. Around her, the water glows faintly with drifting particles of light, as if the ocean itself remembers. Every bolt, every shattered window, every fragment of brass has become a vessel of memory. The Titanic is not merely a relic. She is a monument carved into darkness, a reminder of the fragile line between creation and destruction. The deep does not destroy, it preserves, holding her gently in its cold embrace. As the camera withdraws, her shape appears once more, massive, wounded, yet still beautiful. Her hull covered in coral that shines like embers in the void. Above, the faint reflection of the surface shimmers, unreachable, a distant world of air and light. Down here, the ship dreams, her silence more eloquent than any sound. She sleeps in peace, yet her story still rises through the water, whispering to those who listen. The Titanic endures as proof that even in ruin there is grace, that memory is stronger than time, and that the ocean, though vast and merciless, can also be kind. Beneath all the pressure, beyond all the years, she remains not lost, not gone, but waiting, her legacy glowing softly in the dark, eternal, unbroken, and alive in the heart of the sea.